Speaking the mic.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Is everything up?
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Oh, speaking. There we go. There we go.
Testing 1, 2, 3. We had some. In 2025, we're going to be better about our media stuff. I promise. I promise. Well, again, thank you for tuning in. Always challenges to what you do. So again, this is Education is the Best Medicine. We are, and this is Believe Radio. It's a 24-hour inspirational and gospel music channel. Want to thank everyone for taking the time, and as we go through this, we'll see what happens. Huh? Okay. I want to wish everybody a new year in 2025, the best we can be the best you can be. And I know we're going to go through and we're going to be able to manifest our greatest power due to the challenges that we're about to face. And as my mother would say, God/Allah is still on the throne. And I think about her every time that comes to my mind. And I think it's something to quiet me and make me understand that, you can only control what you can't control. And what you can't control, you can't do anything about. You need to be okay with that. So, looking at December, and December is a great, great month. I have to tell a personal story that my family stopped celebrating Christmas when I was about 12 or 13, and my mom said it just didn't make any sense. And it didn't make any sense to me because the two Santa Clauses in my life, two black men who worked very hard, Jimmy Lee Smith and James Pearson, were the Santa Clauses in my life. So I don't remember a man in a red suit jumping down the chimney, and they couldn't get down our chimney anyway. So that's just a FYI about some of the things we think about, and hopefully it's a season for you that brings family and people close together, and you share and that kind of thing. But on a different discussion, I try to look at the things that are happening in the month of December, and one of them is HIV Awareness Month. And HIV is an immune compromising disease, and it changes the body's immune system, kind of converts it to a factory that produces HIV virus and overwhelms the immune system, thereby the person dies of pneumonia or organ failure or a number of things. And the reason I bring this up is the first clinical entity that I understood to be an epidemic, and that was part of they said if you knew syphilis, you knew disease, you knew tuberculosis, you knew disease, and it would come if you knew HIV, you know disease, and you know COVID, now you know disease. So it's constantly changing our thinking about how we address these particular illnesses, and whether it be chronic kidney disease or hypertension or diabetes or urinary tract infections. It's a ongoing piece. In my podcast with Dr. Lenore, we talked about some of the general things like, all the diseases that have animal names, monkey pox, bird flu, and that they don't kill as many people as the most common viruses, including HIV, COVID, RSV, influenza. They're more prevalent than these animal named viruses, and we'd be better to understand the basics around how these diseases transmit, and in the same case of COVID and influenza and RSV, it's simple hand washing, masking, getting vaccinations, and it's a quick fix to that. And so I bring this up because when I first started practicing, and again, the only thing we talk about, please consult your medical provider, your physician, your mid-level practitioner, PA assistant, in regards to these issues, and do your homework. In 2025, again, I'm asking people to do their homework and not just believe what I say, but also do your own research. Dr. Google, right? Okay. And challenge that information. Ask that information from a cultural perspective. Challenge these mass learning systems to include us and be inclusive in our understanding who we are, because they now have all the data amassed, and it's collecting more data every day. It's a data collection event. And also I research up to date, and also, although I like GPT chat, Microsoft Copilot is also good for asking some of these questions and doing your own homework. And so, again, this is the first disease I really understood outside of the ones that I've been lectured on and read, but was seeing in real life, seeing in real time, having to deal with in real time. I think that since December is HIV Awareness Month, I think we can talk about it from a perspective of non-clinical but historical. And I think from a historical standpoint, it was first thought of as just a white male disease, a white gay man got it, and didn't realize the global nature of this disease. And again, one of its major transmission points is sexual contact. And so that became a discussion about people's morals and people's feelings about who should be having sex and how they were having sex, as opposed to treating the illness, taking care of and understanding the disease process so that we can better manage it. I believe as in today, we're moving to a fear of science and a lack of education and evidence-based practices. In other words, we use information to just make our decisions in regards to whatever the clinical issue is. Hopefully, be able to talk about urinary tract infections for the hours out. And so, again, in the concern that, the government will be controlled by loyalists and people that have particular points of view and passions and biases and fears about anything that they don't understand. And I kind of believe that's the transgender community, which I think is really under attack, and it's kind of sad because we're all human beings. I can't decide a person's gender, who they think they are, or how they feel about themselves. I can respect that and move them forward as best I can clinically. So I think that we have to become more and better advocates for ourselves and for the world at large. I think that's what needs to happen, because research is under attack. And again, we can only control what we can control. And I just want to know that one group isn't being pitted against another, because that's not the way I practice. So, and again, this started for me. I was seeing 20 to 30-year-old men just dying every week, and they would come to my office, do their physical in the next couple of weeks that we did. And I'm bringing it up because in this era of antiviral treatment, is the issue of heart, which is a group of antiviral medicines taken together that quote unquote make HIV, if infected, a chronic disease. It slows the multiplication of the virus and its ability to overwhelm the immune system. So these drugs have been like game changers. And I think the parallel to that is the new weight loss drugs, the SGLT2 and GL1P drugs, the Wegovy, the Farxigas, these medicines that are game changers for folks with diabetes and insulin resistance and elevated blood sugars. And I think the jury's still out on the effect of these medicines if you don't have those conditions. We know that if you stop the medicines, the weight comes back. But again, does the benefit outweighs the risk? We'll find out in a couple of years. And that what brought me to this kind of having to understand things and to learn things, new things, because again, HIV was on-the-job training. So many things we didn't know about it in terms of physical effects and the mental effects. And as we learned about it more, we knew that treating this condition as early as possible would be our best benefit. And I always go back to the point that AZT and Ceftra were the primary drugs used when I first started practicing. And for people of color, they used them in such a high amounts that they died from the medicine as opposed to dying from the virus. So scared the community, scared people that had become infected. And so we had to do a whole re-education. And then that's when people got included into the drug trials. And then we started to see the changes when everyone was able to benefit from research that was up to date and was current and promoted, in that particular time, lowering the viral load of HIV virus, as well as improving the white blood cell count, the CD4 count, the T cell counts, because that was the monitoring of them at that time for protection. That's totally different now. And you don't really have to worry about, because you have a medicine now that stops the virus from replicating, thereby attacking the immune system. So if you have a drug that stops that, then the immune system stays intact. Therefore, the person lives a quality of life, even with the virus replicating at a very slow rate, or not at all in some cases. But the effect of the rapid multiplying of the virus inside the person's system, overwhelming their immune system, making the person at risk for common infections, is no longer the case now, unless the person stops the medicines. And I can understand now why folks are so scared, why the society is so scared, why the community is so scared, because these things came at a rapid rate. And these solutions came rapidly. But if you look at the study, look at the information, it makes sense, And so we can't be afraid of things making sense. We can't be afraid of information. We can't be afraid of education. One reason why I named the show and why I do education is the best medicine, because it is, And so, with that being said, I think people need to understand that HIV/AIDS is a treatable illness, that there are great medicines for it. If you're at risk, the risk is the world. You should test it and know your status. And that's been a real big thing in some of the shows I've seen commercials about five Black people talking about being, sexually active, and the fact that we just, are testing ongoingly because they want to know their status. And I think that's a good thing. And what is this going to do in this new environment? We'll find out. Hopefully, We don't go backwards. We stay where we're at. But again, you can't legislate diseases. You can't legislate morality. You can't legislate fairness and equity. Those have to be things that you want to provide. And I think at this point right now, these United States don't want to provide that. They want a semblance of that. They want a fake news of that. So let the buyer beware. I always said it's not going to turn out the way you think it's going to turn out. And I guess again, I want to say happy holidays to everyone into the new year and us moving forward. And you know, I guess too, the commercialization of the holidays kind of bothered me, and now the holiday called Christmas or the holiday season is defined by how well or how much Americans spend. Did they spend more than they did the last year? Again, not the quality of the relationships, not family, not, you know, coming together and being peaceful. It's about what you're spending, which is a real interesting take on about the holiday season. So the holiday season, I think for me now, in American terms, is how much are you spending and how much did you buy and, you know, that kind of thing, as opposed to what was the quality of your relationships? Who did you help? Anyone did anyone help you? Did you tell your children that you love them, even though they may not be lovable at sometimes, or that partner you've been with for years, you know, care about, you know, you think are important, you know, just those little basic things. Are we losing that? Are we going to miss that? We're going to see. My mom said, I always don't wait till I die. And I didn't wait till she died to give her flowers. I gave her flowers as often as I could. That's so. What's going on in December? Some of the new things are National Cookie Day. National Cookie Day. Then there's also Ugly Sweater Day and Bathtub Day. Well, I had to look up National Cookie Day. One of the things I like. National Cookie Day is observed on December the 4th in the United States. It was designed by Matt Nader, the founder of Blue Chip Cookie Company. And it's a day to celebrate the beloved, that's in the Bay Area too, celebrate the beloved treat that brings us together and people love and enjoy so much. I know I do. And it's for people, this day is for people of all ages. In the daily volume in 1976 in 7 cities, it included National Cookie Day on the calendar for the first time in November 26th. And excuse me. So it was interesting. And so National Cookie Day in 1980, the book, you know, what was kind of programmed into our consciousness by the Cookie Monster, right? So in 1980, in the book, The Sesame Street Dictionary, in 1907, Matt Nader of the Blue Chip Company in San Francisco created Cookie Day. Hey, thank you, Matt Nader. Thank you, Sesame Street and Cookie Monster, for making one of the days that I think are important. Again, December 4th, right? In December, also marked, well, the 1st of December marked Rosa Parks uh, uh, Day. Now, who is Rosa Parks? You might ask. And I would say, if you don't know her, then we're not doing a good job of history. So, Rosa Parks. Who was Rosa Parks? And I asked, was she the first American female to be denied that would not give up her seat on a bus? Interestingly not, she wasn't the um, first one to do it. That goes to a Miss Claudette Colvin. She was 15 years old too, by the way. I tell you. Our African American women, just from the cradle, start doing stuff strong. How could you not love them? Yeah. So, and they thought she was the best person to take this suit forward. It would have really been stressful for a 15-year-old to probably navigate the things that she had to navigate. She was really involved in the NAACP. She was just an involved Black woman. Rosa Parks was an American civil rights activist, best known for her pivotal role in the Montgomery boycott. This comes from Wikipedia and also from GBT chat, as well as from a combination of Microsoft Copilot. Rosa Parks was an American civil rights activist best known for her pivotal role in the Montgomery bus boycott. On December 1st, 1955, that would have made me 11 months old. I'm 69. Interesting. And Montgomery, Alabama, my mom was born out in Alabama. She refused to give up her seat to a white passenger, which led to her arrest and sparked the Montgomery bus boycott. This act of defiance, well, it was defiance. She just didn't want to get up. She was tired. Now, how does a Black woman be defiant because she don't want to give her seat to a white person and she's been working all day? That's how we get labeled, and that's how you get to kind of watch how this discussion played itself out. She wasn't defiant. She was a Black woman who had gotten off of work and did not want to give her seat up to a white female who went to the front of the bus and complained about it. This act became a significant symbol of the civil rights movement. However, Rosa Parks was not the first African American woman to refuse to give up her seat on a separated bus. 9 months before Parks, a 15-year-old Claudette Colvin, I'm going to say that again, a 15-year-old Claudette Colvin, spelled Colvin, Claudette Colvin, you need to say that young Black woman's name, also refused to give up her seat. And did other Black women throughout the history of segregated public transit. Again, Black women, now you understand why a Black woman couldn't be elected president? Because that's not her place. She can only have the place they allow her to have. So throughout our history since 1619, Black women have played a prominent role in the freedom of Africans in America. That should be very clear on this new year. And from what I'm hearing, I'm a little tired, so the game has to change. On December 1st, 1955, in Montgomery, Alabama, Parks rejected bus driver James F. Blake's order to vacate a row of 4 seats in the colored section. So this wasn't even in the white section. She was sitting where they told her to sit, and so she couldn't even sit that. So I guess that means she didn't need to be sitting. She didn't need to be riding the bus. She should have walked. I didn't know that. I thought she was in the front of the bus. She was in the section that they designated as colored people, in favor of a white female passenger. Here they go. Who had complained to the driver once the white section was filled. Parks was not the first person to resist the bus segregation, but the National Association of National Club people, the NAACP, believed she was the best candidate for seeing through a court challenge after her arrest for civil disobedience. So understand in 1955, I'm 11 months old, and a black person still can't sit on a bus in peace. That's why history is so important. That's why history is not woke. That's why we can't be afraid of the historical nature that brings us to this point in time in this society, in these Americas. You notice I didn't say united, I said these America. Because I don't feel united. Alabama segregation laws. So believe that she was the best candidate seen through a court challenge after the arrest for civil disobedience in violating Alabama segregation laws. She helped inspire black community to boycott the Montgomery bus for over a year. The case became bogged down in the state courts. Why courts are so important. Justice delayed is justice denied. Justice delayed is justice denied. I think about that in Port Chicago Mutiny. The last black man to be exonerated from the Port Chicago Mutiny, you should read about this, when 395 black men died in an explosion, and they wanted those black men to go back and work that same area. And so they called the Port Chicago Mutiny. In this area, they have a exit ramp that now is no longer the Port Chicago Mutiny, I believe. Or the Port Chicago. It is no longer the exit from Port Chicago. So, American history is African American history. African American history is American history. So the case became bogged down in the state courts, but the federal Montgomery bus lawsuit, Browder versus Gill, resulted in a November 1956 decision that bus segregation is unconstitutional under the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution. But remember, the Constitution states that we are 3/5 African Americans of a human being. This is the same document that frees us. History, historical. Park active defiance again. And the Montgomery boycott became important symbols of the movement. Understand that a black woman was the catalyst for the civil rights movement. Other things would happen, but the initial issue was an African American woman not wanting to get up of the colored section of a bus. That means that the white women said, and with all those black folks, excuse me. No, they had to clear 4 seats so that she could sit by herself. Parks acted defiant, and the Montgomery bus boycott was an important symbol of the movement that became internationally icon. She became an international icon of resistance, racial segregation, and organized and collaborated with civil rights leaders, including Medgar Evers, Nixon, Martin Luther King at the time. Parks was an employed seamstress at a local department store and was the secretary of the Montgomery chapter in the NAACP. She had recently attended the Holland Folk School in Tennessee Center for Training and Activism for Workers' Rights and Racial Equality. Although widely honored in her later years, she also served the act. He was fired from her job and received death threats years after. So that's the price of standing up, of being accountable, of not being sheep led to the slaughter. You lose a few things. I agree, you lose some things. I say that you'd rather die standing than live on your knees. Then that's a decision that Miss Parks made. The only reason they fired her, because she spoke against a wrong that they knew were wrong. But that was privilege. That was the white privilege. So, that being said, December is National, although I'm wearing a bow tie, it's National Tie Month. Did you know that? So different variations of the tie go back as far as the Roman Empire. Uh, Soldiers wore them for decoration or identification. However, my my necktie history, uh, the necktie history we are drawing goes back about 30 years to the Croatian mercenaries. The Croatian mercenaries invented the tie. Croatian mercenaries invented the tie. That's interesting. It was celebrated as cravats, and the French mostly, in fact, particularly King Louis the 14th began wearing them in the mid 1600s. Well, in 19 more years, they're taking slaves to the U.S. So so when does that go together? And so, if you're gonna have all this together, I don't know what to say. Uh, so one of my things is that I don't know how true this is that African American men, if you look at the early pictures of dressing, most of them wore bow ties. And I think the discussion is that the tie could be used to lynch them, or had been used to lynch them. I don't know how true that is. Someone have to let me know. But that was the old folk tale that one of my elders told me. I don't believe it. So I adopted the bow tie. And so it's a variation of the cravat. It's like, you tie it, it kind of puffs up in around your neck area, and you put the shirt on it, and that's kind of like was the essential uh, transitional piece to the tie that we wear today, and women wear today too. And again, there have been some variations on the necktie in probably early 1700s. Normally, horsemen made from stock leather and wrapped it around their necks to help the rider hold his head up during horse rides. Prominent soldiers such as George Washington and the civil rights general William T. Sherman show wearing versions of a stock tie. And Taylor began to develop neckties during the industrial period, as some people were seeking a comfortable necktie. They would easily put on a colored painted necktie, and it became prominent in World War One. And then that's how ties got the ascot ties. Also enjoy those, like a puffy tie. They make them puffy. So again, varying popularly during the 19th and 20th century. Men don't know what to do. They didn't know what to wear, so they wear something. Women were dressing, so women were dressing, so you had to do something just to kind of stand out, probably. And the Croatian mercenaries developed the tie and a small version of the cravat, which you now know it is to wear ties, and again a puffy part of it. And so again, December tie month. In my case, bow ties. And December is also Ugly Sweater Day, and that's kind of interesting. Ugly Sweater Day, Ugly Christmas Sweater Day. Do you have a Christmas sweater that's ugly? And as I was saying, you have more concern around diseases with that have animals in their prefix, i.e., bird flu, i.e., monkeypox. So I asked the question: how risky or prevalent is bird monkey bird flu and monkeypox? So bird flu currently, the overall risk in the public remains low. Most human cases have been among farm workers exposed to infected cattle. Precautions: health officials recommend avoiding raw milk, dairy products from affected farms, and pasteurized and dairy milk should be safe. So I don't know what this is going on with this raw milk phenomena, but again, the whole idea of pasteurizing the milk was to remove the listeria, basically, or a bacteria that could harm individuals and people get sick from it, and particularly babies. So again, back to science, back to lack of science, back to fear of science. You know, again, uh, I could only say that, well, when uh, farmers were providing milking cows, they didn't get sick. Yes, they did probably. We just didn't know what they were done from. And also, again, unpasteurized milk is unsafe. It's just simple as that. State response: California declared a state of emergency to manage the outbreak and protect public health. Protective gear is being distributed to farm workers, and additional flu vac uh, flu vaccines are being provided. What about monkeypox? Monkeypox cases have been relatively low in California, with sporadic outbreaks linked to international travel or animal contact. You kind of get the connection. If you're not on a farm or have really wild animals, live in a real area where you can come in contact with wild animals, you're probably not going to be exposed to it. Some of monkeypox is sexually transmitted, but again, it's a risk issue. It's minimizing your risk and being aware of the risk so that you don't do stupid stuff. Correct risk. Monkeypox cases have been relatively low in California, with sporadic outbreaks, particularly uh, hello, uh, particularly at risk. Um, and precautions of vaccinations. Vaccinations are practiced. Practicing good hygiene can help reduce the risk of uh, infection. Precautions, cautions. Hello,
Are you
hello.
doing no? Are you doing your show?
Yeah, babe. What's wrong?
I can't find it. Okay.
Okay, all right, okay, fine. Excuse me. Excuse me. I want to thank you for tuning in. Believe Radio 24-hour inspirational gospel music channel. And I want to thank you folks for the time and providing energy. This has been a bunch of technicals today, I tell you. I don't know. Anyway, we do the best we can with what we got. So, bird flu. And I asked for more detailed information from the space, and it says bird flu. Current situation: bird flu, also known as avian influenza A85N1, has been spreading among poultry and dairy farms in California. As of now, there have been 36 confirmed cases, primarily farm workers exposed to infected cattle, and the risk of overall risk of general public remains low. So again, these are all things that are transferred by animals mostly, and if you're exposed to them, then it's an issue. If you're not exposed to them, then it's not an issue. Risk to the public. Overall risk to general public remains low. There have been no cases of person-to-person transmission detected in California. Now, I don't know about the U.S., but again, this is particularly for California. Precautions. Health officials recommend avoiding raw milk and dairy products from infected farms. Pasteurized milk and dairy products are safe to consume. It's also advised to get the seasonal flu vaccine to reduce the risk of co-infection. State response. The California has declared a state of emergency to manage the outbreak. Protective gear is being distributed to farm workers, and additional flu vaccines are being provided. Monkeypox, current situation. Monkeypox has been circulating in California since 2022. There have been sporadic outbreaks, primarily linked to international travel or animal contact. Risk to the public. The risk to general public remains low. There have been no cases of spreading between individuals in California. Precautions: vaccination, practicing, and good hygiene can help reduce the risk of infection. Avoid contact with wild animals and their products also recommended. In comparison, the risk of influenza and COVID and RSV. When comparing the risk of influenza, COVID, and RSV, there are some key differences. Severity. The flu can cause severe illness, especially in high-risk groups such as elderly, young children, and those with underlying health conditions. Symptoms: high fever, body aches, fatigue, and respiratory symptoms. Complications: pneumonia, heart inflammation, worsening of chronic medical conditions. Severity: COVID-19. COVID is a wide range of severity from mild to severe and can lead to significant complications. Symptoms: fever, cough, shortness of breath, loss of taste, of smell, more severe symptoms in some cases. Complications: severe respiratory issues, cardiovascular complications, long-term effects, long COVID, higher mortality rates compared to flu and RSV. So we need to be cognizant of that these things aren't going away. We are going to have a lot more to deal with. Again, get all the vaccinations, wash your hands, wear the mask, watch social distancing. Just be mindful. It's because this isn't gone away yet. It's still prevalent. We'll see probably an upgrade that people will travel and come back from the New Year's holidays. And so stay tuned. It's going to be busy. RSV. That's the respiratory syncytial virus. RSV is a common cause of respiratory infections in young children and older adults, but generally less severe than COVID-19. COVID-19. Symptoms: cough, runny nose, fever, and wheezing. It just kind of like depends on the, when you're trying to decide what this is, testing helps, history helps, length of illness helps, acuteness helps, other family members helps, whether you are a social contact, folks that work, in one-on-one positions where they're having direct contact with people are more likely to get exposed. If you work in an airport, any place where, groups of people are existing, restaurants, the whole 9 yards. RSV is a common respiratory infection in young children and older adults, but is generally less severe than COVID-19. COVID is worse. Symptoms: cough, runny nose, fever, and wheezing. Complications, again, bronchiolitis, inflammation of the small airways in the lungs, pneumonia, particularly for infants and children. So that's the real big issue with that. The kids get sick. So, and they bounce it back, and it's just, you just have to be careful. Risk complications: generally carry a higher risk of severe illness and complications compared to influenza and RSV. Influenza can be quite severe, especially in vulnerable populations, and typically less so than COVID-19. RSV generally less severe than both COVID and influenza, but still can cause serious conditions. So there's just all these things from a respiratory standpoint we need to be mindful of and understand that it is what it is. And finally, kind of to close the show out, I'm again thank you folks for tuning in and dealing with all the technicals, and I got to get it together. Got to work on it more. Got to be better. If I had 2 female patients present in about the same amount of time in my office, just it's the kind of combination of things I see when I see these kind of conditions. I thought it was kind of important for me to kind of revisit it. They came in, major complaint was burning urination, cramping, or had urgency and frequency. Both were concerned about urinary tract infections. And I thought it was important to highlight they were older women, and generally discussion around acute and complicated are different discussions. This was a case of simple bladder infection versus a complicated urinary tract infection, where it can start the infection can start in the bladder and travel up to the kidneys and infect the whole system and cause sepsis. So that's why we want to treat it. So I want to treat it early. And I just thought it was really interesting that these were 2 older females that presented almost the same time. So basically, urinary tract infections include cystitis, which is the bladder infection of the bladder, and lower tract infections, and it can progress into the kidneys. And if it's progressing into the kidneys, it's more severe. It goes from an uncomplicated case or simple cystitis to a complicated case, and one has to use a different set of antibiotics. Again, any presentation of these things, you should get a hold of your medical provider, or in any case, make sure that you're not having any issues that can cause problems. Just be safe. And I guess the way it happens is they get a major concern. It extends behind the bladder. It's when there's side pain, back pain, and nausea and vomit, or the person has systemic illnesses, including diabetes or hypertension, or is immune compromised. And we also have to think about, in the use of any of these antibiotics, the risk of drug resistance. So while we are being particularly careful and want folks to go in and not just be given the antibiotics, but probably get the urine tested before they get the antibiotics, just to make sure that we know what we're treating. And acute complicated urinary tract infection should be suspected if there's pain with urination frequency, or pain in the pubic area, but also they have fevers, chills, flank pain. Again, these are complicated cases and need more different types of antibiotics, and that's why it's so important to be seen in some of these cases, probably in the majority of these cases, because they can go from a simple case to a complicated case pretty quickly, depending on your health status. So, if the infection or the symptoms lack fever, and we're talking about anywhere greater than 99 degrees, and or if we're not talking about fevers, chills, flank pain, or back pain, then it's probably not a complicated case. It still could be, but probably not. Again, testing is so important, and the overall health of the patient is the major concern. And the reason why this happens is that there's a shorter distance from the anal area of a woman to the urethra, and that's why we want women to wipe forward as opposed to wiping backwards. Because when you wipe backwards, you wipe the organs from the anus into the urethra. So, and that's kind of again, it's a short distance. And that's why women have higher risk of urinary tract infections than men. And men have them, but it's just different. Usually it presents like a prostatitis or inability to empty the bladder, which is common in women also. So it's different for men. Men are more sick, more pain, but again, it happens in men also. And the symptoms can be subtle or difficult to tease out, particularly in older women. And that's why I brought this up, because older women should be more conscious of the fact that they're feeling tired, or they're having to burning urination or cramping. This just might not be the fact that they have, ate some bad meat or food. It could be a UTI infection. Cystitis / moving to a UTI, moving to a complicated UTI. Symptoms, again, sometimes, but the chronic issue that both of them complained of, well, one woman complained of burning urination, the other one didn't. Again, or ability, and she had the ability to hold her urine. And again, you just have to be cognizant: is the infection the bladder, or has it progressed upward? So it's and what we also weren't able to do in terms of the history of urgency frequency, burning urination, cramping, nausea, flank pain, back pain, is determined more by physical exam. Example, seeing back pain in the back, or pressing the abdomen and getting pain from pressing on the bladder, probably lends itself to a more acute process. But with the video visit, you're unable to really tease those symptoms out. So one has to make assumptions on that. And again, ask both of them to go to urgent care to get urine. You get urine samples, what cultural sensitivity. One was positive, one was not. And again, that's what has to be done. History is great, but in reality, what are you treating? And with, in their case, the urine had white blood cell count, elevated red blood cells, elevated white cell count. Urine would be kind of pinkish. And on microscopy, that's what they picked up in one sample. And so called her, and we were able to get her treated. Again, complicated versus uncomplicated, two different forms of treatment. The uncomplicated case, we treated this person with a drug called Microbid, which is Nitrofurantoin. It's a crystal that's effective for urinary tract infections. Simple. And so affects your simple odor, want to expose you too much toxicity, because the next level of drugs is a little bit more toxic, but they're more effective. But again, you can get away with giving something that's just as good but not as toxic. I always go for the not as toxic in terms of adverse drug reactions. Um, and given her history and the lab results, decided to treat her as a simple cystitis. And interesting enough, the medicine that I chose was one that she said she should get. She's a microwave, which is nitrogen. So, hey, it's a conversation. It's shared decision making. It's do no harm. So, we're at about 2 minutes. Man, it's been great. I want to thank you folks for listening, tuning in, and boy, we're gonna do the technicals. I want to say thank you to everybody. I want to say, man, I passed my boards. Don't have to take the test for another 10 years. It's lifelong learning. In fact, that's what they said in the piece that sent me to my pass. Lifelong learning is an important part of our day-to-day goals. I agree with that. And I agree with you too. Be peaceful out there. Love one another. Trust one another. Do the best that you can with what you have. Don't get too hung up in the hype. Stay safe. Stay close to family. And we'll see you next year.